Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Menifee, California. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling tune-up Tuesday. Yes, I have my little phone stand up and running today because I need both hands because it's a very special day today. So, we have come to the end of a journey, of this part of the journey. Anyway, I've got stuff everywhere here. I've been going through my mail. Hey, have you seen this really cool card? Look at this. This is from Steffi Masserman. She did this card when I did my 360. She took this screenshot when I did my 366 days of Facebook Lives in a row. So that's really, really cool. So thank you so much for that, Stephanie. I love that. It's even got the date on the inside too, and a little note saying, "Whoa, I did it!" Yes. So that was one of the things in my mailbox today. Another thing in my mailbox. Oh, I can't show you. Oh, I can show you the cover. I got a happy birthday Blondie, but it's gone. So thank you. But I have to show you this. This is really cool. This is my Funky Family Tree Detective group thing. It's got my name on here. It's got genealogydetective.co, and it says, "We make digging around your family tree fun." And if you look, there's Zeffie with her head down in a hole that she has dug. This is a really cool tumbler that can be completely personalized, as you can see, and it supposedly keeps stuff cold for 24 hours and hot for 12 hours or something like that. I don't know, but I was super excited to get it. And my other stuff is over there, and I can't get over there and get it right now because I totally forgot to bring it over here. So for all of you who sent me stuff, thank you. There's some brownies and blondies in my freezer right now. I'm trying to limit myself to one a day. So how was your tune-up Tuesday? How did you go with your breathing today? So we'll get down to business and then we'll get to the fun stuff. So how did you do with your breathing exercises today? Did you manage to absorb the moment and do that nice cleansing breaths? How did you go with that today? What number did you get up to with how many breaths you were as you were counting your breaths? How high did you get your number for another thought came in and you had to start from one again? And then your business one, how did your tune-up on your business processes go? Did you find where the breakdowns were and do that little tweak that you needed to do to make that process run a little smoother? And then what fun tunes from the 90s did you rock out today? I have to admit, I haven't listened to any of my 90s music yet. The day is not over. It's only 4:05 p.m. We have plenty of time to get that in. Okay, so as I mentioned, today is the end of a journey. We're back at one of our home base RV parks here in Menifee. We're at the Thousand Trails Wilderness Lakes. It has been an incredible journey. So here are some stats for you. We traveled 5,890 miles. That was Zeffie's first road trip. I mean, she's done the road trips around here from like Temecula down to Escondido, back up to Wilderness Lakes, and between those campgrounds that we frequent. But this was her first major road trip. She did awesome. I have to say, she was amazing. She's the best. She's camped out on the floor right now. Look, this is how exhausted my puppy is. After 5,890 miles, this is what it does to a dog. But we have had so much fun. I mean, oh my gosh, who would have thought that when we started this journey back on February 6th, that the stuff that we would encounter along the way, the whole coronavirus thing, travel business going, completely basically being non-existent with people not being able to travel. RV sales are taking a huge spike this year over last year's figures because people have figured, if I can't go overseas, I'm going to go traveling around the country. And that's exactly what they've been doing. It's actually been harder to get into some campgrounds that are normally easy to get into because there's so many people out there traveling in RVs right now. When I started the year off, my saying for the year was, I've got it on this bottle, 2020 vision beyond what you can see. And it's all about stepping out in faith. This is the road to the mountains because we know the obstacles are going to come no matter what. There's going to be challenges along the way. That you're going to have to work through, work around, work over, work under. There's going to be challenges along the way, but stepping out in faith, knowing that everything's going to be okay, and that on the other side of the mountain is some gorgeous, and from the top of the mountain is some great views, and then on the other side there's even more spectacular scenery to be seen. So that's what this year has been all about for me, and that's what I started the year off at, and it's still going. I mean, we're only in September. Who knows what the next 3 months are going to bring? But So let's see, we've done 5,890 miles. Today, our mileage odometer, and I kid you not because I got a photograph of this, and I totally missed it 4 miles ago. But our ending mileage was 33,337. Had I noticed that number coming up, I would have kept an eye on it and pulled over the side of the road when it hit 33333. 33,333. Yeah, but I didn't notice that until we pulled in here, and I was like, darn it! But that's okay. That was our ending mileage. So 5,890 miles done. We have stayed in, since we left the campground in Escondido, which is where we left from, we have stayed in 36 campgrounds, 36 campgrounds and 3 driveways on this trip. So it has been incredible. Some of the campgrounds we stayed in twice, like this one here at Menifee. This is my 5th time back here, I think. 4th, 5th or 6th time back here. I can't remember. Something like that. And then the one at Indian Waters was out. The one in Indian Waters was the one that we stayed at when we first started this road journey back in February. So February 6th, we stayed there for 2 nights. It was packed. The dog park there was amazing. It was this lush green bowl. We got there this time, that had this big padlock on it, and it was this dried up grass, overgrown, blah. But they had another dog park, which if you go check out Zeffie's Facebook group from this time, you'll see it there. And she had a blast running backwards and forwards up and down the length of that thing. It was just, and she'd be like in the back corner, and she'd keep looking to see where I was, and then I'd start walking back towards the front gate, and she'd come, and I'd call her. She'll put her head up and see me disappearing, and so she'd come ripping around the corner there, trying to make sure she'd keep me out of view, keep me inside at all times. So, what states did we go to? We went from California to Arizona. This is the states we actually stayed in. We stayed in California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi again. We stayed at the south on the first trip. On the return trip, we stayed in the top, in the northern part. Arkansas, Missouri. Hang on, there's another way you say that. It's not Missouri, it's Missouri. Is that right? I can't remember. Sorry. Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, back to New Mexico again, different campgrounds. Arizona, all different campgrounds, and back to California again. And so yeah, and we did drive through Alabama because we had to go from Mississippi through Alabama to get to Florida. Or was it Louisiana to Mississippi? No. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Yeah. Our longest stay, our longest stay was 53 nights at the 1,000 Trails in Orlando when we got stuck there for COVID. We had actually been at the Encore, what was it? Claremont Encore Golf Course RV Resort for 2 weeks, but then we had to move, and so we moved to this other one, and we were there for 2 weeks, but I could actually stay for 3 with my 1,000 Trails membership. And so the Thursday night I called them up to say, hey, can I extend to my 3rd week? They said, we'll call you back tomorrow. They called me back the next day, and that was that night the governor of Florida had put everybody in lockdown, had extended the lockdown through the end of April. And so they extended me through to the end of April, which meant everybody was leaving on May 1st. And I was sort of like, yeah, I don't want to leave on May 1st with everybody else leaving, because this place has like about 1,000 campsites at it. They were about 80% occupancy, and like half of them were leaving on May 1st because they were month-to-month renters. And so they had to leave on May 1st. And I said, I really don't want to be going out with 400 other RVs. And they said, that's not a problem. You can actually stay another week you can stay another week. It didn't cost me a penny because it's all part of my membership. But I was glad that I didn't have to go, because we sat here, and we were on a corner. So we were on the main road that came from the gate straight down to where our section was, and we were the main road into our section. And then you go down, and then the cabins were on the other side, which were not used the entire time. Oh, I might have been. No, I think people were just using the outdoor area. And then you go past our area, there was another area, and then there was the lake and the dog park. And so it was a very busy intersection, and Zeffie loved sitting up there on the dashboard in the morning. In fact, she would just lay there all day and just watch people. And you'd always know when there were dogs going, because she would stand up and start whining. Otherwise, she would lay there. And if she started whining, it meant people were walking past. But if she stood up and started whining, there were dogs out there. And she basically sat there the entire morning going, as one RV after another left. And they weren't bumper to bumper. They were pretty spaced out. I think there was like about anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes between each RV. Now, they're supposed to leave at 11 o'clock, and this campground is really, really strict. I turned up at 11:30, and then, you're not allowed to be here till 12 o'clock. I said, excuse me? And they said, check-in time's not till 12 o'clock. I said, okay, I'll just go wait outside of my RV. Nope, you have to leave the property. I actually had to leave the property and come back. They were not going to let me sit out there for the 20 minutes it took them. And then, of course, they were all up in arms because I walked into their office, and they're all in masks and gloves and everything else, and I'm just walking in the office there. You should have got a phone. You would have got a phone call, and blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you follow the instructions on the phone call? I said, what phone call? And they insisted that they call. They pull out their binder, look up and said, we called you at such and such a day and time. I said, did you speak to me? They're like, no, we left you a voice message. I said, I got no voicemails. And I opened up my phone and I had a look. There were no voicemails there. But apparently, and I said, what did the voicemail say? And they said, well, the voicemail said you can't show up till 12 o'clock. And when you do, you go straight to the gate and blah, 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 blah. I said, okay. So I go do that now. And they said, nope, you have to leave the property. So that was one of the worst customer service things that I had, was that little piece there. But then when it came to the lockdown thing, the staff were brilliant. It was just that piece with the check-in thing that was the worst part. But other than that, they definitely made up for it. So we was there for 53 nights. Our next longest stay was 26 nights in Mike and Brenda's driveway in Colorado Springs, and I can't thank them enough for the use of their driveway for that 26 nights. It was that was just amazing. And then from there I went to Chrislene's driveway for 5 nights, and she was out in Peyton, Colorado, and then I went down to Pueblo, Colorado, and got to stay with Barb V in her side, and stayed in her side yard for a couple of nights. And Zeffie got to meet her amazing dog, and the two of them, which is a full-grown German Shepherd, and the two of them would run around the backyard together and wrestle and fight and all that sort of stuff. It's been a really cool experience. Got to meet some amazing people on the road. There's people that we met along the way that we just stood and talked with for a couple of hours. We did that in Fort Stockton, and Zeffie and Archie, who was an English Spaniel, got to play together while they were still leashed, because we were standing at the RV site with Paul and Jan, and we're standing there. They were sitting there, and we're standing there talking, and Zeffie and Archie were just playing together and having a blast. 2 puppies just having a blast. Speaking of puppies, so she got to meet a lot of friends. She got to meet Odin, which is a pit bull, and those two just had an absolute blast at the campground that we were at. Michelle was Odin's mum, and she was another woman traveling solo by herself as well. And we walked back because they were in the same row that we were in, and they went into an Airstream trailer, and we carried on to 3 sites down on the other side of the road. And as soon as we got inside, instead of going for her water bowl like Zeffie usually does, she went straight to the couch, front feet up on the back of the couch, looking out the window at the Airstream, whining like she wanted to go play with Odin again. And then the next day, when we went out later that evening, she's trying to go into Odin's RV. She's trying to get into the Airstream, like trying to pull me onto the site to get into the Airstream to get Odin to come play. She soon learned she couldn't do that. So that was kind of fun. Let's see what else. I've got so many notes down here. The worst the worst campground we stayed at on the whole is 2 places that kind of tie for different reasons. One was Saddle Mountain in Tonopah, Arizona. It was there were a lot of flies there. I didn't feel safe. There were a lot of long-termers there, but we were stuck in a row that was sort of like for overnighters, and we were one of probably 3 RVs there for the 2 nights that we were there. The dog park, while large, was not the cleanest. It was very dirty and dusty in there. Mind you, dog parks get dirty and dusty anyway, but it just had that feeling about it. I just didn't feel, even in the daylight, I didn't really feel comfortable out there walking with Zeffie with me. So that would have been one of the worst ones. The other one was the one that we were at in El Paso. A lot of long-termers there, and their dog park was disgusting. It was it seemed like nobody picked up after their pets. I didn't like taking, and there was trash in there, and I just didn't like taking Zeffie in there because I didn't know what would be laying under the trash that was in there. So yeah, those two are on our do not stay there again list. The best dog park. This was a tough one because the one at Indian Waters, the basin there, plus the long one that we had that they extended out since our last stay, those two are really good dog parks. We had a great dog park. Another worst dog park was the KOA in Lafayette, the Lafayette KOA in Scott, Louisiana. You couldn't even call it a dog park. It was basically a dog bathroom. It was maybe 11 by 11. It was tiny. They had the double gate thing, which was nice, but it took out weight. I mean, Zeffie figured she could get across the park in like 3 strides, and she could get an extra stride in if she went diagonally. She had no space to run around in. It was basically, and there was dog poop all over the place. Yeah, so we just went for walks around the park and around the lake, and we had a beautiful lake. We had a gorgeous lake view. I mean, the lake view there is gorgeous. Just don't expect much from their dog park. It's basically a potty area. That was it. So the best dog park. Oh my gosh, we had so many good dog parks. Like I said, Indian Waters has great dog parks. Fort Stockton had a good dog park too. No shade on it though. Where else did we go that had a good dog park? The one at the Encore at Claremont wasn't too bad. Oh, actually it was a good size, but there was a lot of sand, a lot of ants. Although that wasn't too bad. She had enough room to stretch her legs, but it was being one of the medium-sized ones. Katy Lake had a good one. That was just out of Houston. They had a small dog park, which Zeffie could have been fine in, but then they had a really big dog park, which she just loved. She just ran that thing up and down, backwards and forwards. She had a blast in that one. Let's see, what else was there? Another good dog park was the one at Thousand Trails in Orlando when we stayed there. That was a good sized one as well. Down there by the lake, so beautiful views through the trees. She got to meet and play with different dogs down there. She still hasn't found a dog that can outrun her, although she has tried. We did go to a public dog park while we were in Colorado Springs. My friend Chris came over with her 2 border collies, and we took Zeffie down to this dog park, and we basically just walked laps around there, and the dogs kind of stayed within the area. And there was this was the funniest one. There's this mini Australian Shepherd that's like ripping along the thing there, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, is that a puppy? And somebody said, oh no, it's a mini. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And I mean, it's going along quite fast. All of a sudden, Zeffie comes out of nowhere and just goes over the top of this dog without breaking stride and goes past. And I stopped and I looked at this little mini Shepherd. Look where Zeffie had turned around and come back again. I looked at Chris and go, did that just happen? She was like, yeah, that did. And I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, she had a lot of fun. We had some then there was the one in Mississippi, just out of Memphis, Tennessee, just south of Memphis, Tennessee, in Southampton, and that was a reclamation pond area, and Zeffie had a blast just running up and down those. They had steep sides to it, and Zeffie, being Zeffie, of course, had to poop down the bottom, so I'd have to pick my way down the hill so I didn't go sliding down on my butt. But you know, it was a lot of fun. There's come across some great dog parks. One of the worst dog parks we had too was in Lyman, Colorado. That was disgusting. It was, yeah, I'd stopped taking Zeffie in that thing. But they were in the process of building a brand new dog park. It just wasn't open when we were there. But as we were leaving, because I was up higher in the RV, I could see over this 8-foot high fence. And the new dog park's going to be amazing when they get it open. They're busy. They were busy leveling out the ground at the time, and you could see the stuff in the corner there where they were going to be putting like obstacles and stuff making it into a real dog park with some obstacles and things for them to do. So lots of stuff to keep them active. The other one would have been that one that we stayed at in Florida. Can't think of it. This book is now full. It's got 52 entries in it. But there was, which was that one with the big dog park? Oh yeah. So the Travelers Campground. Let's see, oh, Tony is watching, damn it. It's that place again, Tony. Alachua? No, Alucia. Oh, I've forgotten how to say it. And I know he's going to be cracking up laughing right now. But they had a 1 acre dog park with some obstacles in there, and around 3 sides they had this paddock which had a horse and 2 donkeys in there. So if you've seen the video on Zeffie's Facebook page of her trying to entertain the donkey, or trying to engage the donkey thinking it's some big large dog type thing, it is absolutely hilarious. So she got her first introduction to donkeys and horses at that one. But we've had a lot of fun at different dog parks. A lot of places didn't have dog parks, but they had dog walk areas. And so it was interesting. The coldest night we had while camping, yes, we had some cold spells because we left in February, so some areas were still a little cool, which were nice. We got below freezing in Deming, New Mexico. They actually told us to pull our hoses in that night, pull all hoses in that night because of the freeze warning came through and it got down below 32 Fahrenheit, which is 0 for you centigrade people. And so my water tank was, so I just went outside, filled up the water tank and wound the hose in, and it didn't matter because I was going to be leaving the next day anyway. So that was our second night there. They actually had a good dog park. They had a good dog park there too. But that one in Deming, New Mexico, that one we actually got below freezing that night, and we were snug as a bug inside the RV. It did really well. We had the propane was turned on with the heater to come on if it got below 55 in the RV. I have no idea if it came on. I just know I was snuggled down underneath my weighted blanket, and I slept like a log that night. The hottest place we were at, oh my gosh, that has to be Indian Waters, when we just came from. Saturday, Sunday, over 120 degrees, then got to 121, 122, but it felt hotter than that according to the weather apps and things. And then yesterday we got up to 119 degrees there as well, but they were very dry. But today, woke up, it was like 78 degrees, 80 something degrees when we went out for our walk, but like 78% humidity. I was like, we've gone from basically 0 humidity to 78% humidity. Plus it was all hazy from all the bushfires and everything else going on. The most humid though would have to be Florida. Florida just wins that trophy end over end. Although Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, they were a little on the humid side as well, but nowhere near as bad as Florida. The best storm that we had, oh yeah, we had best storm. The best storm we had would have been in Lyman, where we had the hail come through and the thunder and lightning, and I got those really cool pictures of, people thought they were, it was me taking pictures of the sun setting and the sun was shining through the clouds with these big patches of white light. I said, no, that's actually lightning in the clouds that I managed to capture, and they're like, oh wow. So yeah, so that was the best one, although it was very loud, but we went out, had a look out after the storm and passed. There was no damage to be seen. Woke up the next morning, you didn't even know a storm had come through the night before. It just sounded bad because there's not a lot of padding on these roofs here. You got the metal roof, not a lot of padding, and then you've got the carpeted ceiling. So yeah, not a lot of padding or soundproofing or anything else like that. So I think that's everything I have written down here. Okay, lessons learned along the way. Let's see. Oh yes, I finally figured out, I'd been driving this rig for 16 months before I figured out how my levelers actually worked. And we were in Mike and Brenda's driveway, and we went and dumped the tanks and then came back and actually leveled, and their driveway had a bit of a slope on it. So we leveled the RV with blocks and all of that sort of stuff, and I actually figured out it suddenly dawned on me that the front, rear, passenger, and so was it driver, front, passenger, rear, that when you hit front, the 2 at the front go up. When you hit passengers, the 2 on the side go up. When you hit the driver's side, those 2 go up. Or you can just go all, and it kind of does sort of a leveling thing, and then you can use the front, rear, or one side or the other side to just level you up a little more. So 16 months it took me to figure that one out. Learned that some places are very, very friendly. Some not so. I got yelled at the Crater Lake because I walked in without my mask on, and got told in no uncertain terms that I couldn't even come in. And even if I was disabled, And I said, hang on, I have PTSD, that is a disability. She's like, oh no, that's not a disability. Disabilities are physical, not mental. I'm sort of like, excuse me? Yeah, so she kept changing the rules on me. She said, whatever the county states, that's what they do. I said, well, the county states that if you have a disability and cannot wear a mask, then it's an exception. Oh, no, this is a private company. And every time I would, yeah, and then it was just sort of like, whatever. I was just not going to go back to that place again. And that was at the Meteor Crater in Arizona, in the RV park. And then she tried to tell me that even up at the Meteor Crater, unless you had a mask on, you weren't allowed in. I said, what if they've got kids that are under 2 that are on the exception list? Nope, everybody has to wear a mask. Everybody. And what if you've got people who are with you who are physically disabled and cannot physically put their own masks on and take their own masks off, which is another exception? Nope, they have to wear a mask too. I said, even if they physically cannot put it on themselves or take it off themselves, which is one of the exceptions as written by the CDC. And she's like, no, everybody has to wear a mask. And so she was like adamant about this. And I was like, whatever. They actually had a couple of really good dog parks there too at that one, which is a shame because apart from that, it was actually a good stay there. We actually extended to 5 nights at that one. So that was our trip, all 5,890 miles of it. We had a lot. We got to meet some great people. Got to meet Paul and Jan in Fort Stockton. Got to meet Vicky in Florida there at Thousand Trails. And oh my gosh, we would walk past her place every morning. And if she was not sitting out at her table when we walked past, Zeffie would start whining the whole way past her RV till we got to and I would actually have to stop, pick Zeffie up, hug her for a minute, then put it down, and then she was happy to walk on. She loved going and visiting Miss Vicky, and she loved digging up Miss Vicky's site. So all those digging pictures I have, this one here, that's her on Vicky's site digging a hole. It took her all of like 3-4 minutes to dig it that deep, and she was throwing it back like 8, 10, 12 feet. No problem at all. Those little legs of hers that run really fast, they dig really fast too. Let's see, the most entertaining one, what would be the most entertaining park? Well, see, lots of parks had lots of great activities and stuff on, and then as COVID stuff started clamming down on things, people were closing down, parks were closing down different activities and stuff. And another worst one was the KOA in Forsyth. They had a lot of goat's heads, and I had to, if we wanted to go to the dog park, I had to carry Zeffie across a patch of grass that were full of burrs and goat heads because they were catching in her feet. And the first time she did it, and she got these little prickly things in there, and I would have to flip her over on her back, cradle her, and try and hold her still while I pulled these things out of her little paws. So their yard there was just full of them, and you had to go through that to get to the dog park. And I was like, yeah, this ain't worth the hassle. So we just did some nice circuits around the lake that they had there, and the over the lake, and around the other just around the whole campsite and things. So we did that, and there was some hills that we had to walk up and down. That's what I forgot to check. I was going to check to see how many miles I had walked during this time. I totally forgot that. But I was getting in a minimum of 5,000 steps a day. Some days were more than others, depending how far we had to walk to the dog park, or how far Zeffie wanted to walk that day. She would have just kept walking if I didn't put the brakes on her. But yeah, so we had a great time, learned a lot about the RV, about organizing it. We got some stuff organized, and the Instapot works amazing in an RV. That thing, oh my gosh, I've lost count of the number of meals I have cooked in my Instant Pot. We actually got that, I think I got that while I was in Florida? Or did I leave here with it? No, actually I think I got it run up before I left California. Yeah. So, we've learned different maintenance stuff that we've got to do on the RV. We learned how to keep the RV cool with the Reflectix. So I don't know if you can see, but it's still on all the windows and everything else, because it's a good insulator against keeping the cold out or keeping the heat out, depending on what the temperature is outside. Tomorrow's meant to be in the 60s. ACs are working very well right now. But, learned a lot, remembering to check my washer fluid, because you go through that. It's just a little, it takes 3 Gatorade bottles like this, 20-ounce Gatorade bottles. It takes 2.5 of those to fill it. So it's a very small thing. I got really good at driving up and down hills after all the practice I got August last year with my dad, and him telling me, let the engine do the work. And every time I came to a hill, all I could hear was my dad's going, let the engine do the work. Yes, Dad, the engine will do the work. Learned a lot about Wi-Fi signals and stuff too. So I have my AT&T hotspot. I have my Sprint hotspot. When one doesn't work, the other one usually, very rarely was I in a place where I didn't have any type of signal. In fact, most of the places I went to, I had pretty good signal. I either had AT&T or Sprint. I was able to do my Facebook Lives every day, so I had some sort of signal somewhere along the way because I could get my Facebook Lives in. The smallest RV park we stayed in would have been the one in Arkansas that was at the Vineyard, because it was only 10 sites. It was basic. It was $20 a night on a pay system. You call up the guy, gentleman's handshake over the phone, that yep, go to this site number. You know, when you get there, you'll be in site number 6. It's like, great, thank you. And he said in the box for paying, he said if you go up to the building that's there, he said that's kind of like our office building, but it's got a drop box there and some envelopes. Just fill out the envelope, put the money in the envelope, and you can either do cash or personal check, and drop it into the drop box. And he says I'll be by about around 6:30 when I get off work. Well, 6:30 he came over, he knocked on the door, we had a good chat with him and found out, you know, how long he'd had the vineyards and all that, found out about the walking trail, and that's where I learned the term, the 3/4 of a quarter mile. Yeah, 3/4 of a quarter mile, because you had to go you had to go this way down here, 3/4 of a quarter mile. So I was like, 3/4 of a quarter mile? He's like, yeah, just down there and you'll see the path and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you sure it's not just a quarter mile? He says, no, it's about 3/4 of a quarter mile. I was like, okay. So yeah, so it's been a great trip. Met amazing people along the way. Finally got to meet the EB clan in person. I mean, Jason and I have known each other for a number of years and have met with each other at different functions that we've been to together. But this is the first time I got to meet his wife and kids in person, even though I'd met them all on Zoom. Got to hang out with them, got to watch the Go Glam, which is the girls every Sunday at 4 p.m. Central on the EB's Go Glam. They do, they have their paparazzi jewelry show that they do, and the two younger girls are just absolutely awesome on it. And I got to be a special guest when I actually got to sit on the couch over on the side there. But if you're watching the video that I was in, you can actually see Zeffy just stretched out on the couch next to me. So it's been a great trip. I got to catch up with Tony and Brett again. Those guys were amazing the entire time that I was in Florida. They were my mail stop. They loaned me a car for the entire, was it 53 nights at one, 14 at another. So for the entire 67 nights I was in Claremont, Florida, I had the use of a car. So I can't thank you guys enough for that. That was just brilliant to be my mail stop as well. I got mail delivered there, got mail delivered to the EBs. Didn't get anything delivered while I was at the Sanchez's though in Colorado Springs, because I wasn't really planning on being there as long as I was. But I've met amazing people along the way. And then when I was in Colorado Springs, there's a big group of people in Colorado Springs that have been begging and pleading and that for me to come to Colorado Springs. So I finally did. And one of the girls there, Kelly, Kelly Holtz, she has an insurance agency there. She's awesome. And she had a barbecue over at her place. And so I got to meet some of the girls from the Colorado Springs area that I've only ever met on Zoom. Brenda was the only one that I'd actually met in person prior to that. But everybody else finally got to meet them all in person rather than on Zoom. We had a great afternoon. They bought food. It was awesome. I feel very, very blessed. And that's when Chris gave me my Zeffy's mum mug. And if you haven't seen it, there's a picture of it on my Facebook page. I just don't remember where I have it packed right now. But it's a 16 ounce, about this big, and it's got Zeffy's mum and Swarovski crystals written on it, and on the back it's got this heart with this little paw print on it. It's so cute. But it's packed in its box right now, because when you're moving you gotta batten the hatches. So I've met amazing people. I am so thankful that I got to the trip. Was it the trip I wanted to do? No, because I wanted to go back up to Virginia. There were people in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia that I wanted to go see, that I hadn't seen for a while, hadn't met in person yet. Want to go up to DC area, catch up with people I used to work with. We didn't get anywhere near there. I wanted to go up to New England, which my husband told me for years he would take me there and never did. So there's lots of places I wanted to go but couldn't get to go. But you know, the trip turned out to be incredible, and I am so blessed that I got to do this trip. I got to meet some amazing people, got to meet some newbie RVers, got to meet some veteran RVers. We got to swap stories, had great conversations with people. Some people I don't even know what their names are because we never introduced ourselves. We just stood there and had great conversations. You know, they'd make the comment about Zeffie being such a pretty dog, and I'd go, oh, thank you. And then they'd ask me what sort of dog it was, and then we'd just get talking, and half the time you'd walk away and you wouldn't know who that person was. It's like, darn. When you get back there, I was like, oh, maybe I should have got their name. But anyway, you know, so I got to network with a lot of people. I just didn't get to get their names, is what I should say. Didn't get to get a lot of names, but made some amazing friends who I'm now friends with on Facebook and following their adventures as they go traveling as well. Even though it didn't turn out exactly as I wanted it to, you know, it was a super fantastic sparkling trip anyway. And we had a lot of fun. You know, I don't even know how many states I went through. 13 states, 14 states, I don't know. We drove through a lot of states, you know, 5,890 miles from one side of the country to the other and back again. So we kind of went straight across the 10 to the 75, took that down to Claremont, up, and then we went through Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri. Is it Missouri or Missouri? Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. So some of the places some states I got to stand twice, but at different campgrounds, with the exception of California, where we did Indian Waters twice, at the beginning of the trip and at the end of the trip. And it was a little spooky staying in that campground, because last time I was there, it was full. There was a lot of activity going on. All the grass was beautiful and green. I get there this time, the grass areas are not open at all. You can only stay on the gravel patio ones. There were 6 RVs in the section that I was in. I woke up one morning, there was 11. 3 of them left. So it was hot. It was hot. But Sparkles actually did very well, and I didn't have any mechanical issues with Sparkles. She ran really, really well. Getting to drive her, I got a lot more comfortable behind the wheel with her, to the point where I actually overtake 18-wheelers on hills, going around bends. Not downhill though, they overtake me on the downhills. I learned to have a lot of patience. I actually got to meet a guy who was from Scotland who was cycling across the US along the 10, and would catch up with him at different rest areas and stuff. And at one rest area, he actually asked for some hot water, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't have any power to boil any water, and you need to fix a punch." And I suddenly thought, well, hang on. Is my hot water tank still on? Checked, my hot water tank was still on, and the water coming out of the hot water tank is really hot. So I found kind of like one of these that I had lost the lid for ages ago, and I thought, well, I'm never going to, and up until then I just used it to store coins in, and there were no coins in it at that point, and so rinsed it out, filled it up with some hot water, washed it out, filled it up with some hot water, and took it to him and says, here. I said, I totally forgot I had my hot water tank would still have hot water in it, so I hope it's hot enough for what you need to do. And here's fixing a puncture on his tire. And then after I left him, that was the last time I saw him, and I thought, damn, should have asked him, should have done a Facebook Live with him and talked to him about his trip across the states, across the I-10, and should have asked him that. And then another guy who was also cycling around, he asked me for some ice. Well, I didn't have ice at the time. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't have ice. He goes, you don't have ice? You don't have a freezer with an ice maker? I said, nope. I said, it's just the standard RV freezer that has no ice maker in it. I said, I have the trays for ice. I just don't have them filled up because I don't have a need for ice right now. You know, we were still in the edges of winter. And it was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago I actually started putting ice into the ice trays and making the ice, and now I just drop it into Zeffie's water when it was too hot, because when we were staying in Indian Waters, the cold water was coming through hot because the hose was in the sun and we had nowhere to shade it, and so even the water in the holding tank was warm. So rather than giving her hot water, I would drop some ice cubes in it, and then she'd take them out and start crunching on them, and then leave little pieces of ice all over the floor. So you'd walk along the floor and go, oh, that's cool. Oh, that feels nice. But anyway, I have been very, very blessed on this trip. Discovered a lot about myself, about the things I can do that I didn't think, when I first got on this adventure, I was like, oh, how's it going to be? I thought, no, I'm going to be fine. And learned about setting intentions each day, about what the travel conditions were going to be like. Today would have been my windiest day. We had a lot of strong headwinds today. It was very exhausting. I only had an hour and a half to go. Oh no, 2 hours to go to get here, and it was very, very exhausting because we were driving straight into a headwind, and every now and again it would catch you on the side because you had to turn on the road. So that was not the scariest drive I have done this trip. The scariest drive, what was that one? Oh, that's just the I-10. The I-10 out of California, the I-10 going east on California is disgusting. It is the whole way. Poor Zeffie, she rests her head on the engine bump up the front there, and her head's going against this thing, and then she just like curls up onto her bed, and so I'm not putting my head up there now. But yeah, very blessed to have Zeffie along the way. We found different PetSmarts along the way with ones that we could stop at as we were driving, get her food. One we stopped off and got her nails clipped because they hadn't been clipped before. She was not impressed. It took her several weeks before she would allow me to touch her paws again, and then I went and got them clipped again. She needs to have them clipped, and she needs another bath. I learned how to give Zeffie a bath in the RV. That was an adventure. We had an adventure with that one. Still have not figured out how to operate the oven in my RV. I know I have to have a lighter to do it. I have the lighter. I have to read the instruction. I have to find the user guide and figure out how to operate the oven. But it's too dang hot right now, so the Instapot's going to have to do for now. And yeah, but it's been a very fun adventure. I'm very blessed that I got to go on it. Got to meet some amazing people. Didn't get to see a lot of the sites I wanted to because a lot of them were either closed or you were required masks. So but the scenery was incredible. Went everything from deserts to lush green forests and trees, and along the I-40 in Tennessee, there's just trees either side of the freeway. It was amazing. Got to go on some parts of the I mean, when Brad and I moved from Virginia to California, we drove across the I-40. We took the 66 to the 81 to the 40, and we just shot across the 40, and I think we went to I don't remember at what point we turned off, because we didn't go through Phoenix. Maybe we did go through the outskirts of Phoenix. Can't remember which way we went. So where to next? Don't know. Gonna stay here for a little bit. Well, I'm here for 9 nights. Probably go down to San Diego so I can visit with the family. Got to see the youngest grandson turns 2 this month. I do want to go visit Brad's grave on the 24th, which will be the 3rd anniversary since he passed. So I do want to do that. Got my storage unit I got to sort out at some point as well. So I need to get that taken care of. If I can get into it. That's the big question. Can I actually get into it? Because the big one that's got the most stuff in it, the movers were actually pushing boxes in while one of them pulled the door down, so I don't know if I can actually get it open. That would be a challenge. But anyway, that's it. That's my recap of the trip. I learned a lot about myself. I've done a lot of classes while I've been on the road. Started my genealogy, took that from being part-time to being full-time. Come join us at Funky Family Tree Detective. This is the cover of the Facebook group that we have, where we have fun digging around your family tree. Zeffie's digging around your family tree. Let's see what else. Got my marketing consulting business going. So it's adapting to situations and stuff. There's been a lot of people keep calling it pivot. I call it a global pause. this whole time I consider it to be a huge blessing to be able to go through this time, because some people, you know, it's discovering new ways of doing things. And some people say, oh, I can't go out, I'm stuck at home, I can't do anything, blah, blah, blah. Get online and do some classes. You know that guitar, you go sit in the corner, go dust it off, get on YouTube and learn how to play a guitar, or a keyboard, or learn to paint, or, you know, a lot of people are bitching and moaning about being trapped with COVID, and I'm sort of like, I'm having a blast. You know, it changed my plan. It definitely did a lot of changing on my plans and stuff, but at no point have I turned around and bitched and moaned about it. It's, because everything happens for a reason. What my reason is, I don't know. What's coming down the path, I don't know, but it's going to be super fantastic and sparkling, whatever it is. But anyway, I have rabbited on long enough. Thank you all for following me on this journey. If you haven't heard, I was on a call yesterday, and one of the things they talked about was Facebook Lives, no, YouTube videos. And I've already got, this is day 405, so I decided to stretch my 1 year, which was 366 days, which I completed on the 31st of July. So on the 31st of July 2022 is going to be 3 years. So that is my goal, is to do a Facebook Live every day until that point. What I will do after that, I don't know, but that's my next goal as far as Facebook Lives go. So I'm going for 1,096 Facebook Lives. I think that worked out right. 365 plus 365 plus 366. I think that worked out right. But I've already got 405 under the belt. So we're good we're in good shape to get that one. So that's the goal we're going for now, is 3 years of Facebook Lives, which then get transferred over to YouTube. So anyway, that's it from me for now. Thank you all for joining me on this amazing journey, which I was going to call the Great North American journey, but since I didn't get into Canada, I can't really call it North America because it didn't include Canada. That was the other place I wanted to go, but that's okay. We'll get there. So my Great American Travels. I don't know. Gotta come up with a good name for it. But anyway, I've waffled on for long enough, kept you guys long enough. So thank you all for tuning in. Keep tuning in every day, because we're going to be doing there's going to be some changes coming to how the Facebook Lives are done with what they're going to cover. We're still going to do our Magic Mondays, Tune Up Tuesdays, Winning Wednesdays, Thankful Thursdays, Fun Fridays, Shake It Up Saturdays, and Serenity Sundays. We'll still be doing those in the mornings, but the evening ones will be anywhere from genealogy how-tos to marketing how-tos to RV life how-tos, tips and tricks for living in an RV. Maybe I'll do some RV maintenance stuff when I fully figure it out. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. That'll be a fun one. Anyway, I'm out of here. I've been on, oh my gosh, almost an hour. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'm out of here. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, rest of your Tune Up Tuesday. Just be thankful for what you have. I know it's Tune Up Tuesday and not Thankful Thursday, but be thankful for what you have. Be grateful for the experiences that you've been able to have. I have been truly blessed on this trip with the people I have met, the adventures we got to have, the fun and games we got to have, watching Zeffie come into her own, and figuring things out as we drive. She is the most amazing traveling companion one could ask for. Although I would like to actually have a conversation with somebody while driving. So it would be nice to have a human traveling companion, so I could have somebody to talk with on the drives. But then sometimes I'm on the drives and I'm glad that I just got the dog to talk to, because I don't want anybody to talking back with me or hearing some of the thoughts going through my head at the time. But I have been very, very blessed to be able to do this journey. I'm looking forward to the next one. I have to get me another one of these because I still have some RV parks I have to put into my next one. So I've been keeping all of the brochures, because each camp gives you, they give you little brochures with maps on, information on the back, all that sort of stuff. So once I get them in there, we can just see what to do. Anyway, that's it from me for tonight. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we will catch you tomorrow for Winning Wednesdays. Yay! Maybe I should have done this call tomorrow. Can't, because I arrived today. Oh well, didn't time that very well. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening.